Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are heading into some truly dark, really atmospheric territory.
Yeah, atmospheric is definitely the word for it.
We're going to Minneapolis, but definitely not the Minneapolis you might see on a postcard.
Right. No lakes and friendly slogans here.
Exactly. Skip the Minnesota. A nice slogan for this one. We are stepping into a story that feels like it was written in smoke and neon light. It's really a story about a city that is essentially two different cities layered on top of each other, constantly fighting for the same space.
It's a fascinating case study in duality, isn't it? I mean, we are looking at a narrative that just constantly oscillates between timelines. You've got wealth and poverty, the desire for justice versus this really raw thirst for revenge.
Yeah.
But more than that, underneath all the plot mechanics, we're looking at the psychology of isolation.
We really are. We are diving into the world of Wolf Hour by Jo Nesbø, and honestly, the source material here is dense.
Oh, incredibly dense.
We aren't just looking at a standard crime novel. We're looking at a deeply complex character study. We've got a burnt-out detective who is absolutely his own worst enemy.
To put it mildly.
Right. And a hitman who isn't really a hitman. A taxidermist who sees dead animals as a way to freeze time. And this corrupt cop trying to outrun a decision he made 30 years ago. It's just a lot to unpack.
It is a lot. And what I think is most compelling here, and what we really need to focus on today, is that this isn't just a basic whodunit.
Right.
If you look closely at the texts we have, it's really an anatomy of a breakdown. We are watching the breakdown of several men, actually, and simultaneously watching the breakdown of a social contract within a city.
The environment mirrors the people?
Exactly. It asks a very specific question, which is, what happens when the systems we rely on completely fail us?
So let's set the scene, because the atmosphere here is practically a character in itself. The source material opens with a man returning to Minneapolis in September 2022.
Right, post-pandemic.
Yeah, he hasn't been there in 8 years, and right away you get this profound sense of unease. He's a writer, and he's researching a book he wants to call The Minneapolis Avenger.
Notice the perspective immediately.
Wow.
He is coming from Norway, so he is very much an outsider looking in.
Which gives him this very sharp, almost critical eye.
Precisely. He lands, and the first thing he notices is the change in the architecture and just the overall vibe. The text mentions the shiny new downtown, specifically the U.S. Bank Stadium.
Yeah, the glass thing.
Right. It's described as this gigantic glass structure reflecting the sunlight so brightly it almost hurts to look at it.
And he's in a taxi, and the driver tells him that's where the Vikings play. And the writer is like, wow, maybe I'll get a ticket while I'm here.
And the driver just laughs at him.
Yeah, he says, good luck. It used to be something you could take your kids to. Now it's for rich folk only.
Which feels like a throwaway line, but it's actually setting up the whole class conflict of the story.
It's the first crack in the facade. You have this gleaming, expensive stadium, this massive temple to commerce and sports, but the streets around it are quiet.
Almost empty.
Yeah, the writer notes that 8 years ago, the streets were bustling. Now it's a ghost town. And the driver explicitly links this silence to all that stuff that happened.
And all that stuff is heavy. For the writer, it means the murders we are about to discuss from the 2016 timeline. But for the driver and for the city as a whole, it means the murder of George Floyd and the riots that followed.
Right, and we should note the text handles this very observationally. The driver just says, some people thought maybe it would bring the people of the city together, but my view is it tore this town apart.
It's just presenting the reality of the division without taking a political stance. It sets the stage perfectly. You have a city in flux, a city that is hurting and deeply divided.
And then the writer asks to go to a neighborhood called Jordan.
Which is crucial context for our listeners. Because Minneapolis is often presented as this polite Midwestern city with beautiful lakes and forests.
But the Jordan neighborhood is described in the text as a food desert.
Yeah, let's pause on that. The source material mentions this concept of a food desert, where hunger and aggression are actually linked.
Although, interestingly, our detective character, Bob Oz, later dismisses that idea.
He does.
He basically says, look at the victim, look at this guy, he's obese, he's not starving.
Right, Bob is very cynical about the sociological explanations for crime.
But regardless of Bob's take, the setting of Jordan is grim. The writer wants to see the projects, the tower blocks. But the driver tells him they don't even exist anymore. They were pulled down.
So we are dealing with ghosts right from the very start. The writer is looking for a building that isn't there, to understand a crime that happened 6 years prior.
He closes his eyes and just imagines himself back in 2016 floating up to the 6th floor of those vanished towers.
And that is where our deep dive really kicks off. Let's teleport back to October 2016. Tuesday morning, 8:11 a.m.
The specificity of the time is so important here.
It is. We are inside the head of our shooter. His name is Tomas Gomez, but he goes by Lobo.
Yeah.
And he is sitting in a window on the 6th floor of the Jordan projects.
This scene is incredibly vivid. I mean, he has taped the drapes to the walls so they won't blow around and give away his position.
The preparation is meticulous. A fluttering drape is movement, and movement attracts the eye. He wants to be a void in the window. This is what stands out about Gomez immediately.
He isn't some frantic spur-of-the-moment killer.
Exactly. He is operating with the precision of a professional. He has scrubbed the apartment clean with chlorine, but he notes the smell of cooking oil, garlic, and cigarette smoke is still there.
It's like the misery is baked right into the walls.
Yeah, the stink from that old wallpaper was still there, he says. He's been sitting there since 7 a.m., just watching the morning routine of the neighborhood.
Seeing the white smoke from the car exhausts because it's getting cold.
And he sees the yellow school buses, which he describes so cynically as mobile jails.
That is such a dark line. He looks at children going to school and sees it as a prelude to the lives that lay ahead of them. It really shows his mindset.
He sees absolutely no hope in this place.
He's looking down at what he calls an ant heap. And he is waiting for one specific man, Marco Dante.
Now, this Dante guy is quite a character.
He really is. He's a gun runner, but he drives a Maserati in the middle of the projects.
Which is a bold move. The text describes him as a fat peacock.
A fat peacock.
Yeah, he dresses like an Italian mobster. He has a fake accent, gold in his eyebrows, gold in his teeth.
Blinging wetly.
Ugh, yes, blinging wetly. What a gross, vivid description. He is this grotesque figure of excess in a place of extreme poverty.
And the irony here, and this is a detail I just love, is that the weapon Gomez is using to kill him was actually bought from Dante himself.
It highlights the transactional nature of violence in this world perfectly.
So Gomez buys the rifle, an M24 sniper rifle, from the very guy he intends to shoot.
For $1,900.
Right. There's a flashback to the purchase scene in a garage where Dante is showing off the gun and he says, "I hope you're going deer hunting, amigo."
And Gomez is just standing there pointing, paying, wrapping the gun in bubble wrap himself, thinking, you have no idea.
Dante is selling death to kids in the neighborhood, and now that death has literally come back to his own front door.
It's a closed loop. Dante stares at Gomez's hands during the transaction, specifically at this pentagram tattoo on his wrist.
Which is part of the Lobo costume, right?
Exactly, as a signal, part of the myth he built for himself.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting from a technical standpoint. We go back to the window. Gomez is set up. He has the perfect weapon.
Dante walks out the door.
Gomez fires.
And he completely messes it up.
Just...
He hits him, but he doesn't kill him. Dante falls backward into the doorway, but he survives. And Gomez is baffled. He is thinking, I did everything right. I aimed for the chest.
To bring him down and then reload for the kill shot. Standard double tap procedure.
But the shot hits low.
This is a great moment for a little physics lesson, which the text actually provides.
Oh yeah, the shooting range scene.
Right. Gomez later goes to a shooting range to figure out why he missed. He speaks to an instructor, and they discuss the physics of shooting at a downward angle.
Okay, unpack this for us. Because usually, you think if you are high up, it is an easy shot. You have the high ground.
You would think so. But the text explains that gravity acts on the bullet over the horizontal distance it travels, not the diagonal line of sight.
Wait, so the diagonal line from the 6th floor to the ground?
Yes. When you're shooting at a steep angle, either up or down, the horizontal distance along the ground is actually shorter than the diagonal distance your eye sees looking down the scope.
So if you're shooting down, you have to aim differently than if you were shooting straight across a flat field.
Exactly. If you aim dead on for the distance your eye sees on that diagonal, you will shoot high.
Because gravity hasn't pulled it down as much as you'd expect over that shorter horizontal distance.
Right. You have to aim lower. Gomez calculated for the direct distance, but not for the angle of elevation. He didn't compensate for the gravity factor correctly.
That is a beginner's mistake for a sniper.
Which tells us something incredibly important about Gomez. He isn't the professional hitman he pretends to be.
That is a huge reveal. Because up until now, he is sold to us and to the gangs as Lobo, this cartel legend. But the missed shot cracks that persona.
And then there is the human moment.
Yes, the hinge of the entire plot. After he shoots Dante and Dante falls, Gomez is about to fire the second shot to finish him off.
But the door swings open.
And suddenly, Dante starts moving. A neighbor inside is dragging him to safety. Gomez has the crosshairs right on them.
He could fire.
He should fire if he wants to finish the job. The bullet would go through both of them easily, but he stops. Why?
Because he thinks to himself, I can't shoot a neighbor who is only doing what any decent human being ought to do.
That pause is everything.
It really is. A cold-blooded cartel killer wouldn't care. They would mow everyone down to get the target. But Gomez has a moral code,
He respects the good neighbor more than he hates the bad dealer.
which makes his backstory, when we finally get it, even more tragic.
Let's unpack the wolf persona a bit more. This guy isn't a killer by nature. He is a killer by circumstance.
We learn that Gomez was an immigrant, living a quiet life with his wife and 2 children. His daughter was in a wheelchair.
And they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, a restaurant that got caught in the crossfire of a gang shootout.
The text describes the memory so brutally. He tries to get his daughter to safety behind a car, but the gang members, who are just kids really, shoot him in the foot.
And then they shoot the daughter in the wheelchair.
The image of the bullet hitting the back of the wheelchair is the fuel for everything he does. His wife and son are already dead inside the restaurant. It's an absolute massacre.
And the police actually tell him gangs usually only shoot at each other.
They basically shrug it off.
That is the moment the social contract breaks for Gomez. The system completely failed him, so he decides to become the system.
He needs to terrify them. So he infiltrates the gang responsible, the X-11s. And this is where the Lobo persona comes from.
He invents this character, a cartel hitman on the run, to get respect.
The gangs believed him because the story fit their stereotypes perfectly. They wanted a monster, so he gave them one.
And he uses that position to orchestrate a war from the inside. The text says he orchestrated internal wars.
He would kill rival gang members to start feuds. He essentially weaponized the gang's own violence against them. He was like a virus injected into the X-11s.
It's essentially a suicide mission that turned into a career.
But the cost is his own humanity. By 2016, he's described as a ghost.
He works cash jobs, lives in empty apartments, injects insulin for his diabetes, and obsesses over this one last target, Dante.
The man who sold the guns that likely killed his family. He has no connections left except for a dead cat and a taxidermist.
It is the ultimate isolation. He has become the thing he hates just to destroy the thing he hates.
He's a man defined entirely by his loss.
So that is our villain, if you can even call him that. Now let's flip the coin and look at the hero, and I use that term very loosely.
Very loosely. Enter Detective Bob Oz.
Bob Oz is, well, he's complicated. The text introduces him at a very low point. He is sitting in a bar called Bernie's.
At 9 in the morning.
And he is not just having a coffee, he is drinking whiskey.
We learn about his reputation pretty quickly. He used to be One-Night Bob, the guy who slept around.
Then he met his wife, Alice, and became One-Woman Bob.
But now Alice has dumped him, and he is completely spiraling.
The description of him is tragic. He is wearing this mustard yellow cashmere coat, which he is oddly proud of, but underneath it, he is just a mess.
He is One-Night Bob again, but without any of the charm. The scene with the bartender, Liza, is genuinely painful to read.
Oh, it really is. It's that laugh to keep from
Right.
crying energy. He is trying so hard to flirt, but it is just coming off as desperate.
He tells her his wife doesn't understand him. He actually asks if having a broken heart makes him more attractive.
And Liza, bless her heart, just shuts him down. She says, I'm a bartender. That's all you need to know about me. She literally asks, are you asking me what your chances are of sleeping with me?
And Bob is honest. He says, if what people say is true, that it's a good remedy for a broken heart, then Christ, yeah, I do.
It's so raw. He is looking for a connection, any connection, to numb the pain.
But then comes the condom scene.
Oh man, the condom. This is such a bizarre move. He leaves a tip on the bar, but it isn't money. He puts a condom on the counter.
Liza asks, you're scared you'll have a kid. And Bob says, I'm scared of a premature ejaculation.
It is meant to be a joke, maybe, or some weird pickup move, but it just lands as totally pathetic.
He's putting his sexual dysfunction on the counter as a prop. It paints a picture of a man who is incredibly lonely and masking it with his bravado.
He wants her to see his potential, even though he feels impotent in every single aspect of his life right now, and when he leaves, he grabs the condom back.
He says, you never know. That optimism is almost delusional.
It's cringeworthy, but it makes him real. You feel his desperation. And yet, despite being a drunk mess, when he gets the call about the shooting in Jordan, he switches gears.
We see that he is actually a pretty sharp detective. He is a high-functioning wreck.
He arrives at the crime scene at Dante's apartment building, and he starts noticing things the uniformed cops missed.
Right, he finds the insulin box in the trash, which identifies the shooter as diabetic.
And he finds the business card for Town Taxidermy.
But it's his unique interrogation style that really stands out. There is a scene later where he kidnaps a drug dealer to get info on Gomez.
Literally kidnaps him, a guy from Jamar Clark's crew.
This scene is brilliant because it shows Dobbs' intelligence. He handcuffs this guy, throws him in his car, and drives him to a quiet street.
But instead of beating him, he uses behavioral economics.
I love this part. So Bob puts a bundle of cash on the dashboard, $2,000.
And he basically says, tell me what I want to know, and you get the money.
The guy refuses initially. He actually spits on the money. He spits right on a portrait of Ulysses S. Grant.
And Bob doesn't get angry. He uses it. He explains the psychology of loss aversion to a gang member.
Right. He says that the disappointment of not getting a promised reward is significantly less motivating than the fear of losing what you already have.
He's manipulating the guy's brain. He is saying, this money is yours now. Don't lose it. I haven't stolen from you, so you have no economic or moral incentive to kill me.
He deconstructs the gang code using academic logic. He points out that the guy's bosses will assume he talked anyway because Bob kidnapped him in broad daylight.
So he might as well get paid for it.
It is a very sophisticated manipulation for a guy who was drinking whiskey at 9 a.m. It proves that Bob Oz understands people, even if he can't manage his own life.
But his own life is definitely unmanageable. We learn he has this nickname within the force, Kentucky Fried.
Because he refuses to carry a gun.
His colleagues think he is a coward, a chicken. But we get the sense it is more about a moral conflict.
Or past trauma. It is hinted that he is afraid of what he might do with a gun. He has severe anger management issues.
And that comes to a head in the precinct with a guy named Tony Stark.
This isn't just a bar brawl. This is Bob actively seeking out punishment.
So Tony comes into the precinct accusing Bob of sleeping with his wife, which Bob denies, by the way. He actually didn't do it.
But instead of de-escalating, Bob provokes him. He sits there and verbally eviscerates this guy. He makes lewd gestures. He pours gasoline on the fire.
He is basically goading him into throwing a punch. Why?
Because Bob wants to hit someone. He needs a release. The text references this rushing sound in his head multiple times. It is the sound of his own rage.
So he provokes the punch so he can claim self-defense. And when the guy finally swings, Bob is ready.
He grabs a pair of handcuffs from his desk.
And uses them as knuckle dusters.
It is brutal. The text says there was a crunching sound as the steel crushed the bone in Tony's nose. Bob completely loses control.
He isn't a cop in that moment. He is just a ball of rage. It takes 3 colleagues to pull him off.
And the consequence is total and immediate. He is suspended. He loses his badge, his gun, his service car.
But, and this is classic noir, he doesn't stop. He doesn't go home and cry. He goes straight to the impound lot.
He pays $2,300 in cash to get his old personal Volvo out.
The mustard yellow Volvo. Even his car is pathetic. But it is his. It represents his independence.
He decides to continue the investigation as a rogue agent. He is stripping away the Detective Oz identity and becoming just Bob Oz, private citizen with a vendetta.
He is shedding his skin, which, poetically, brings us to the third point of our triangle. We have the shooter, the detective, and now the taxidermist.
Mike Lunda, Town Taxidermy.
Let's walk into that shop. The bell jingles. It is quiet. The source describes it as silent, peaceful, filled with these perfect copies of living beings.
Lunda is a fascinating character. He's the calm in the center of the storm. And his philosophy on taxidermy is really the thematic core of the entire story.
He tells Bob that taxidermy isn't about recreating nature. It is about creating a story.
He gives that great example about the Labrador. A wealthy family wants their dead dog stuffed, but they want it to look thinner than it actually was when it died.
They want the idealized version of their pet.
Right. Lunda says the art lies in capturing the memory, not the biological reality. He uses industrial foam forms, glass eyes, hides. It is an illusion of life.
He calls himself a barber for the dead. He styles them how the customer wants to remember them.
And the connection to our killer, Gomez, is that Gomez was a regular customer.
He brought his dead cat in to be stuffed.
A cat that is still sitting in the freezer, by the way.
Okay.
But Lundy reveals that he and Gomez spent hours in the shop just talking.
And what do they talk about? Loneliness. This is where the deep dive gets really psychological.
Lundy brings up Robinson Crusoe.
Yes, he posits this theory. Biologically, humans don't need other humans to survive. We can eat, sleep, and breathe completely alone.
But psychologically, loneliness drives us insane. Lundy argues that Crusoe's return to civilization might not be a happy ending. On the island, he was free. With people, he is bound.
He suggests that this is the thread connecting everyone in the story. Gomez, Bob Oz, and even Lundy himself.
They are all island men forced to live in a city. They are solitary predators, wolves, trying to pretend they are part of the pack. And it is driving them crazy.
Gomez is trying to preserve his family's memory through revenge. Bob is trying to preserve his identity as a cop even after he's fired.
And Lundy is literally preserving dead things to make them look alive. They are all isolated men trying to freeze time.
And Bob spots a book in the shop called Rogue Taxidermy.
Which is a real subculture, by the way.
The book features this creepy art. A squirrel holding a heart. An eagle holding a revolver to its own head.
That image of the eagle is so disturbing. It is nature committing suicide. It foreshadows the grotesque nature of the violence in the story.
It's nature twisted into something artificial and violent, just like the characters.
Speaking of twisted, we have to talk about the man who sold his soul. Olaf Hansen.
The milkman. Every noir story needs a dirty cop, and Hansen fits the bill perfectly.
He is a veteran detective. He constantly bullies Bob Oz, calls him ass instead of Oz.
But we learn his secret. He is known as the milkman partly because he is white and Scandinavian looking, but mostly because he milks the system.
We established he is corrupt, but the text gives us a glimpse into why. It wasn't some grand villainous plan. It was a moment of weakness 30 years ago.
30 years. It turns out he was the one who steered the investigation away from the gang leader when Gomez's family was killed in that restaurant.
He is the reason Gomez never got justice. He protected the gang leader, Die Man, for money.
And once you do that, you are owned.
And now, 30 years later, that bill is coming due. There is a chilling scene by the river. Hansen is fishing in the dark, trying to find some peace.
And the phone rings. It is Die Man.
The voice on the phone says, "I can hear that you know who this is, Milkman." It is the voice of his nightmare returning.
Hansen thought he was out. He thought he could just retire, fish, and forget. But the past is a hook right in his mouth.
The gang knows Lobo is back. They know Gomez might talk if the police catch him. So Hansen gets an ultimatum.
Kill Gomez before he can be interrogated. Don't arrest him. Kill him. Hansen is essentially being asked to become a hitman.
And he agrees. He says, sure, but we have to talk about the price. He falls right back into the old rhythm.
But his internal monologue reveals he isn't doing it for greed anymore. He's doing it for his son, Sean.
Sean is troubled, maybe an addict. Hansen wants to leave him money. He wants to secure his future. He feels trapped by that one bad choice he made decades ago.
It emphasizes how corruption isn't always about being evil. Sometimes it is about being weak just once and then being owned forever.
But then, just to mess with our heads, the text gives Hansen a save the cat moment. Or rather, a save the kid moment.
This is arguably the most complex scene in the text. He is walking to his car, and he gets held up by a teenage robber, a kid named Elliot with a knife.
Elliot wants money for shoes. Nike shoes. $241.
It is so specific and so childish.
Hansen disarms him instantly. He has his gun on him. He could end this kid's life or ruin it with an arrest.
But instead, he gives him the money. He hands him $200.
He calls it a mulligan, a do-over. He says this is the one mistake you get away with, like a mulligan in golf.
He is projecting so hard here. He wishes he had a mulligan. He wishes he could go back 30 years and make a different choice with Die Man.
By saving this kid, he is trying to perform a ritual of redemption. He thinks, if I let this kid go, maybe the universe will let my son go.
It is magical thinking, but it makes him human. He isn't just a corrupt cop. He is a deeply regretful father.
It reinforces the theme that nobody in this story is purely evil or purely good. They're all just desperate.
Now we have to zoom out to the biggest character of all, the canvas, the city of Minneapolis.
The setting is absolutely crucial. We have the 2016 timeline, which is pre-pandemic, pre-George Floyd. The tension is bubbling under the surface.
The food deserts, the segregation, and then we have the 2022 timeline, where the narrator is looking back at the wreckage.
The contrast is stark. The taxi driver says the city was torn apart.
And there is that conversation with Liza, the bartender. She talks about her father voting for Trump because the working class feels like, quote, the crap in the middle.
It captures that specific moment in American history perfectly. The text is just observing the resentment, the feeling of being left behind.
Liza says the rich get richer, and the people in neighborhoods like Jordan are left to rot.
Bob Oz dismisses the link between hunger and violence, but the text makes it clear The environment is a pressure cooker.
And the narrator, the writer in 2022, calls himself a taxidermist of this story.
He says, I'm a taxidermist, I stuff things. He is admitting that he is manipulating these real lives to create a narrative.
Which is a brilliant meta-commentary. Just like Lundy makes the dead look alive to tell a story, the writer is taking these broken, dead events and trying to give them shape.
He's trying to find meaning in the violence. He is asking us to question the story itself. Is he telling the truth? Or is he just styling the dead bodies?
Are we listening to the truth or just a good story?
In noir, there is rarely a difference.
And looming over it all is the legend of the ghost of City Hall, the last public execution in Minneapolis. It is like the city is haunted by its own history of punishment and injustice.
So, bringing it all together, what is the core mission of this deep dive? It is to see how these three men, Oz, Gomez, Lundy, are mirrors of each other.
They really are. They are all lonely, they are all obsessive, and they are all trying to fix a broken reality.
Oz tries to fix it through law, and when that fails, rogue investigation. Gomez tries to fix it through revenge, balancing the scales of his family's death.
And Lundy tries to fix it through art, making the dead beautiful again. Hansen tries to fix it through money.
But the tragedy is that they are all trapped. As Lundy says, without others, we are just animals. We are just the wolf.
That brings us to the title, Wolf Hour. It is that time of night, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., when you can't sleep, when the nightmares are real, and the line between civilization and savagery completely blurs.
All these characters are living in their own personal wolf hour.
And the question the text leaves us with is uncomfortable. It asks, when the system fails, when the social contract breaks, are we all just one bad day away from becoming the wolf?
Exactly. Or are we all just taxidermists, just trying to stuff the past into a shape that doesn't hurt so much?
I want to build on that for a second. We talked about taxidermy as preserving the past. But what if the real danger of taxidermy isn't just about preserving the past, but about paralyzing the future?
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
Think about it. If we spend all our time stuffing and mounting our traumas so they look perfect, we completely lose the ability to move forward. The city, the detective, the killer, they're all trapped in a museum of their own making.
They're posing their pain instead of processing it.
Right. In a world of isolation, maybe the stories we tell ourselves about justice in the past are just illusions we create to keep from looking at the reality of the decay underneath. We're freezing ourselves in place.
Wow, heavy stuff. But that is exactly why we do these deep dives, to find the skeleton inside the stuffed animal.
Well put. We will leave you with that image. Thanks for listening to this session.
Stay safe out there.
And watch out for the wolf hour. We will see you next time.